is The Project. Welcome back.
You already fork out money for gym memberships, streaming services and Vogue knitting. But would you also stump up to be a power user on social media? Facebook and Insta are hoping you will.
Meta just announced it's rolling out paid Facebook and Instagram subscriptions for users in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah.
And if the raging success of the metaverse is anything to go by, this looks set to be another big hit.
It feels like we're in the same place and we're making eye contact, we're talking to each other.
High five.
Yeah, there you go, high five.
But admission to the House of Zuck won't come cheap, with a web subscription costing $11.99 a month and a smartphone subscription $14.99 a month. Oh, and you'll also have to pay that for Facebook and Instagram separately.
I'm sitting here smoking these meats.
The current offer is not compelling enough to justify some of the prices that are being thrown around.
In return, you get a blue verification badge, access to customer support, and the big one, an algorithmic boost so your posts are seen by more eyeballs.
Blue tick's becoming something you can pay for totally undermines what a blue tick is for. It's like a last-minute cash grab to try and get money off users before we leave the platform. It's ill thought out. I just think it's weird.
Would you pay to use Facebook or Instagram?
No, probably not.
No.
No, I don't use Facebook. I was born in like 2001.
No, I would not. No. I just don't see the point in it.
Meta's move follows Elon Musk's harebrained scheme to make users buy a blue tick for $8, though he could only convince 300,000 of the 450 million tweeters to sign up.
I'm curious, what do you guys think?
We weren't listening.
Some influencers are furious.
Mark Zuckerberg, I'm over it. You need to stop. This is unacceptable.
It's almost like a designer brand. I think it's going to diminish the credibility and desire around the scarcity that previously these blue ticks had.
So, if the bin fire of social media goes behind a paywall, will we pay to play? Or will we just have more time for Vogue knitting?
Joining us now is technology futurist Chris Riddell. Chris, we should point out we've seen this already with Snapchat, Reddit, Tumblr. So when you join the dots, are we going to have to pay for all our social media accounts eventually?
I think it depends which side of the fence you sit on, Waleed. If you are a consumer of the platform, if you want to be on the receiving end of it, I think it's going to be very hard to realistically start charging people the prices that we were seeing there. But if you're an influencer, if you're a business, if you're somebody that makes a living out of this, then the reality is they're going to squeeze you as hard as they can and go as deep as they can as well with this.
But it already kind of hasn't worked for Elon. Will it work for Meta?
And this is where it gets interesting. I mean, you've got to look at which are the bigger platforms. When you look at engagement and when you look at the amount of people that are actually humans, technically, on these platforms, Facebook, Meta, Instagram, these ones are doing well. So it'll be interesting to see how it works. Twitter, it was an absolute disaster so far. But the thing that I find really interesting, I mean, the blue tick thing has been really sought after for the last few years. And now that anybody can get it by just paying for it, that really does start to water it down. And I think it's not going to be quite as elusive and attractive as it once used to be.
So what happens then to those who decide that they don't want to pay for their social media? Will they be eventually booted off the platform?
No, I mean, if you look at, Facebook over the years, if you've had a business, if it's a small business or an influencer, you've had to pay to play. You've had to pay to get your content or your material out there and reach people. This really isn't that different. I mean, these businesses are used to doing this. The question is, can they pay more and will they pay more? And that remains to be seen. I'm not sure, it's not so sure that that's going to be, I mean, you look at the prices of it, it's ridiculous. It's the same as a subscription for an online video streaming platform. It's crazy.
So will monetising the accounts change the content that we see?
I can only hope that the content will get better on these platforms. I mean, one can only dream. That's probably a conversation for off-air on another day. But my suspicion is we're just going to see more content. That's the way that we're going. I think the way that content's being put online is always changing. This is just another part of that, and God help us all.
Chris, is this going to destroy the careers of influencers? I hope not. Will they be forced to get a different job, change their line of work?
Maybe. Let's hope so. Really, is it? No. Are they going to all throw their toys out of the pram and scream furiously? Absolutely. They're going to be furious at having to pay this amount more. But fundamentally, these people are making money off these platforms, and that's to be expected that you're going to have to pay to play on it even more.
Also be a tax deduction. I mean, I will start an accountancy service for this if necessary.
I think the biggest thing that's coming out of all of this, I've just been in an event in Adelaide today with 600 tech people, and the big thing that we're talking about now is not only our data privacy that we've been talking about for the last years, but now how can we actually get our data back from these organisations that have got it, and where does this take us in the future? This is becoming a big thing.
That's a really interesting question. Thanks for mentioning it at the end of the interview. When we have no time to discuss it.
Might have to have you back.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Good stuff.
Aren't you glad you're not on it?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, time for a break. More Project right after this.